Ladies and gentlemen, happy Thanksgiving. Literally, fellas, the maybe best day of the year, depending on who you are out there. I'm pumped. I'm ready to eat some food. If you're watching this right now, there's a good chance that maybe you're one of the crazy motherfuckers out there that are watching this on Wednesday night when it drops. If so, I appreciate you. But I appreciate you people watching this on Thanksgiving as well, because I can say happy Thanksgiving to you and it smacks you right across the face on the holiday itself. So, welcome into the channel today. And hey, we're covering the Sunday Night Football. We got videos out for the whole day, by the way, if you just stumble upon this one. All of Thanksgiving, all of Week 12's 10-game slate. We'll have Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football, everything right here on this channel. We've got you. Sit back, relax, and enjoy your Thanksgiving. You're about to get educated, informed, smacked around with the information about how to dominate this slate and how to take advantage of this slate. So, the Buffalo Bills versus New Orleans Saints, a very nice game. A game that opened with a total above 50 and has been recently bet down below that. And very much so below that. This total, a week and a half ago, opened around 52. And after people saw what Buffalo just did, and after people seeing the way that the Saints are playing, especially against the Eagles, both these teams coming off of losses, that game has been bet down so far, around 47, depending on where you're looking right now. Yes, it is a lower total, lower scoring relative to the NFL season this year. But let's get into it right now, and we'll start by going salary by salary, and we'll start all the way up top with Mr. Joshua Allen. Joshua Allen, who has been, oh yes, he's been getting the Patrick Mahomes treatment. Somewhat of the Tom Brady Tampa Bay Bucks treatment, although they kind of washed that aside with the Giants on Monday Night Football, and that is the cover 2 treatment. That is sweeping the NFL. It is back after a decade and a half. It is coming back in large form, the Tampa 2, right? These cover 2 shells with the 2 high safety defenses, which means you can't throw deep as much. They have 2 safeties, so they don't let you throw deep or intermediate as much. You have to run the ball, and the Bills can't do that, really. You have to be able to check it down, and the Bills can somewhat do that, but Cole Beasley's been banged up. They haven't had Dawson Knox fully healthy until last week, so Josh Allen has been trying to be his normal self and run around and extend the play, and it's leading to sacks, it's leading to throwaways, it's leading to bad plays and bad decisions, and Josh Allen has been playing bad overall this season. So, you're getting 38 attempts per game out of Josh Allen. He's throwing for about 290 yards per game, and now he gets the New Orleans Saints secondary that ranks top 10 in the NFL. A pass rush that is not good on paper, but it has been banged up for most of the year. Josh Allen comes into this one with a good chance at going over his rushing yards number. Because of the fact that these 2 high safeties will lead to more opportunities for more time. There'll be less blitzes, less linebackers there as well, less chance of a spy. So that looks good if you're looking in the props department. But for Josh Allen at $12,200, for the way that he's currently playing, I mean, look, he even has a bad game last week, and he's still producing for you. Josh Allen plays badly against the 2 high shells. They get blown the doors off of Jonathan Taylor, the Jonathan Taylor Colts, right? The Indianapolis Jonathan Taylors go out there, and they end up dominating the Buffalo Bills. And Josh Allen still, garbage time or not, goes out there and ends up getting 2 touchdowns to Stefon Diggs. He ends up getting a decent amount of rushing yards on his own to cancel out his turnovers. And in the worst of worst games, his team loses by 26 points. Josh Allen is still putting up 18.2 fantasy points, right? So Josh Allen has this secure floor, and when you get these floor games out of him on a showdown slate, it's not great, but it's not detrimental. So at $12,200, Josh Allen is going to be a yes for me. He's going to project out for the mid-20s in fantasy points, and he's going to project out as the highest scoring player on the slate. So on a 1-game slate, it definitely keeps him in play. Now, relative to his other teammates that are a little bit cheaper. Now, I wish Stefon Diggs was a lot cheaper. We got Stefon Diggs in like the $7,000 range, I believe, earlier this year on a showdown slate against the Chiefs. Absolutely beautiful. I mean, now the price point is rose by $4,000. He's $11,800. It's a totally different story now when you start to look at Stefon Diggs. And what are you getting out of Stefon Diggs? You're getting a lot of production lately. You're getting a guy who has scored 12 or more DraftKings points in all but one of his games. 15 or more DraftKings points. I mean, this is consistency. 15 or more in all but 2 of his games. He's getting there in different ways. 2 weeks ago, he's destroying the Jets, absolutely dominating them, right? And then last week, he only has 23 yards, but he's getting those 2 touchdowns to get you there. So now, what is this week going to bring as he has a matchup against Marshawn Lattimore, who I'm personally not scared of the matchup against Marshawn Lattimore, because yes, Lattimore is good, but Stefon Diggs is one of the best at getting open, so I'm okay with that. The problem that you're seeing with Stefon Diggs is that he only has a 71% catchable target rate this year. All right, what do these numbers mean, Mr. Sal Vetri? What does this mean? It means that 29%, nearly a third of Stefon Diggs' targets that Josh Allen is throwing his way this year are not even catchable. Like, he doesn't even have a chance. They're either over his head, they're short, they're all out of the way, and that's just a factor of Josh Allen becoming less accurate than he was last year when it was a career high accuracy, even dating back to high school and college. And these defenses that are being played against him with the covers twos are showing that. So Stefon Diggs is not hitting on these long balls. He's not getting the catchable targets all as often. So you get the Jets game where it's popping off. He has that deep catch along the sideline that one was almost uncatchable as well. He barely fingertip catches that one. And it's leading to Stefon Diggs not getting there as much. At $11,800, Stefon Diggs is a decent play if you find the value on this slate. So if you're playing in one lineup, I would prefer Josh Allen for $400 more to Stefon Diggs. It's hard to fit both of them on this slate. So we'll put Stefon Diggs on here as a maybe, but keep this in mind. If you find the value, if you're somebody that's fine punting to one of the $200 plays we'll talk about shortly, then fine. Go to a Stefon Diggs. You'll have enough money. I'll lean Josh Allen over Stefon Diggs if you're playing in smaller field stuff. Larger field stuff, some stuff can get a little bit differentiated there, but we can start with that. Alvin Kamara, he was on the estimated Monday report. They don't actually practice. They just do an estimated report just based on league rules. They don't practice on Mondays. He did not practice on the estimated report. He's questionable now for week 12. He's probably leaning closer to doubtful with this lower body injury because he has not practiced in the last 2 weeks. So Alvin Kamara has not taken part in a full practice. He's been at walkthroughs and things like that, but he's not actually practiced now in 2 weeks, and he basically has a day to practice until the game starts on Thursday. So I would expect him not to be playing in this one, but if he is active, I'm not going to suggest that I would not believe that they're just going to be putting him out there on a short week, not fully healthy. If he's active, I think that we at least know that he's a full go at that point. So Kamara, if active, he becomes a yes. For right now, he's murky, so we just leave him as a maybe. And before we keep going, since we already kind of discussed Josh Allen, this is the most important thing I can tell you since week one. Week one, PrizePicks ran a promo that if Patrick Mahomes threw for 1 passing yard, spoiler alert, he did, you win. It's just as simple as that. It's a promotion to get more people on the site. They want to take advantage of the fact that it was week one and a lot of people have eyeballs on it. That's as easy as it goes. They're doing it again with Josh Allen. Over under a half a passing yard on PrizePicks. 1/2. If Josh Allen throws for 1 passing yard on Thursday Night Football in this game on Thanksgiving, you win. You win. That's it. No catch. You win. It's as simple as that. But where's the catch, Sal? There is no catch on this. The reason they're doing it is you're going to be with your uncles, your aunts, your cousins, your friends, whatever it might be on Thanksgiving. You're going to place that bet and then say, hey, you should probably place this too and get a free however much money you want to put on at the limit, whatever it is, right? So go ahead and go to PrizePicks.com, right? And you go in there, you use the code SAL, you get a free $100 on top of that. So if you use the code SAL, you let them know you came from me, you get a free $100. And then as you can see on the screen, the promotion for Josh Allen, if he throws for over a half a passing yard, spoiler alert, I have him projecting him for 300 of those passing yards, you win. There's no catch. It's a promotion for a reason. You just take advantage of this on Thanksgiving. You get a free $100 with the promo code SAL, and then you get literally a free bet one. It doesn't get any better than that. They're trying to fuel your bankroll to start you off and make you feel good on Thanksgiving. Fuel your bankroll, fuel your stomach, and you go from there. So use that code SAL, S-A-L, and you get that free bet. Then go take the Josh Allen prop. There you go. You're welcome for that little bit of an intel. Take advantage of it and tell a friend to tell a friend as well. So there you go. You get the Josh Allen promotion. And now Trevor Siemian is next up here. And Trevor Siemian's an interesting cat because in real life, no, he's not playing well. He's coming off of a game where he threw 2 interceptions. He got some garbage time running there towards the end, and he puts up 26 fantasy points. But he's averaging, in his 4 starts, he's averaging 6.4 yards per attempt, a 57% completion percentage. They just gave Taysom Hill yet again another extension that's likely just on the books type of money rather than real money based on the money they're giving him. He's dealing with a foot injury, so track his status for potential chance of him taking away a lot of touches from Siemian. But Siemian, he's still averaging 18.4 fantasy points per game. Whether he's picking up some rushing yards, whether he's getting in the end zone, throwing for 250 yards because of Sean Payton's offensive genius skills and play calling. So although Siemian has not been lighting it up in real life, in fantasy, as long as he's out there, he's been producing pretty well. And at 10,200, if you're not somebody who's familiar with these showdown slates, maybe you're just stopping by on Thanksgiving or you stop by every once in a while, a $10,200 quarterback is a very fair price point. So although Trevor Siemian is not a sexy name, he is a solid name. He is going to drop back in this game about 30 to 35 plus times, and that is very good. That is secured production and secured touches, at least on a showdown slate. Normally you have to pay, Josh Allen's price tag at $12,200 or somewhere close to $11,000. But since his name is Trevor Siemian, you're getting a little bit of a discount here. This next man up is hard not to like. Assuming Alvin Kamara is out. If Alvin Kamara is in, you don't play any Mark Ingram at this price tag. He's a no, you don't want him at all. There you go, right? But assuming Alvin Kamara in this game is going to miss, you're going to be getting a strong yes for me on Mark Ingram here. Mark Ingram right now, since he's returned, so since Alvin Kamara has been out these last 2 weeks and Mark Ingram has returned to the Saints as the starter, he's seen an 85.7% opportunity share, meaning the amount of targets and the amount of touches he's seen in this backfield amongst all running backs. That would rank number 2 in the NFL right now, only behind Najee Harris for overall opportunity share. He's seeing elite usage. He has 12 targets over his last 2 games, meaning that he's more game flow independent. If anything, there is some concerns that the offensive line is banged up. We'll have to track that going into this game, but they did get Nick Vannett, which might not mean like a lot to you. He's a former Steeler. He's a former Seahawk. talk, Nick Vannett is a run blocking and a pass blocking tight end, but he's a very good run blocking tight end. So getting him and not having Juwan Johnson, a tight end who's a former wide receiver out there, who was a healthy scratch last week and now Vannett was in last week, is also an upgrade for Mark Ingram. So Ingram for me is a strong yes. Ingram for me is definitely a captain option at that price point. We do a little bit of a scroll and you get Dawson Knox next. And here's the thing that's tough about Dawson Knox. I love everything we're seeing. When you talk about the two high safeties that Buffalo is going to see against New Orleans and that they've struggled against, Dawson Knox, Cole Beasley, these guys who can get open in the middle of the field and the short parts of the field more often, they're going to benefit from that. And Dawson Knox did last week. He had season highs in his snaps, 98%, season high in routes with 40, and season highs and team highs as well in targets with 10 last week. The zone beater Dawson Knox came out in full effect. On the 3-game main slate for Thanksgiving, he looks great at his price point. The problem here is, can he continue this production, one? But two, even if he does, is the price tag already baking it in? And my answer to that is yes. Like, Dawson Knox is averaging 12.5 fantasy points per game on the year. That's his average so far. It's been skewed up by about 4 or 5 straight games of touchdowns before he fractured or broke his hand earlier this season. $8,000, you need to score 12 fantasy points, right? If you get an 8 fantasy point day out of Dawson Knox, these 4-catch, 40-yard days, it's not going to be enough. You need the 6-catch, 70, 80-yard day out of Dawson Knox. And to ask a tight end to do that like it's nothing is difficult unless your name is Darren Waller or Kelsey. And even for them to put up 80-yard games on 6 catches, it's not the easiest thing. So Dawson Knox is by no means out of play because he clearly has the touchdown upside. He's going to run 30-plus routes. He's going to play 95% of the snaps in this game. So he's in play. The problem is he's $8,000, right? $8,000 is not cheap for a tight end. So you get Dawson Knox in there, he's in play. Next up is Emmanuel Sanders at $7,400. Emmanuel Sanders, no man has been hurt more on this team. Josh Allen is close, but no man has been hurt more on this team from these two high safeties than Manny Sanders. They take away the deep shots. Manny Sanders was thriving the first 4 to 5 weeks of the year on deep shots. Since then, he's only seen one deep target, one target of 20-plus yards over the last 3 weeks. He is struggling mightily. If you were playing one lineup this week, I would not play Manny Sanders. The one thing that we do have going in our favor is that ownership. I have projections, I have rankings, I project out ownership. If you have a set of ownership projections and a set of point projections, you have a great idea of how to understand the slate and how to play it game theory wise in contests and tournaments on DraftKings. We have a lineup optimizer. We have a Discord with 1,000+ members chatting around in there as well. If you want to join that, it's down below on my Patreon. But the nice thing about Emmanuel Sanders is he's going to be low owned this week. People will go up to Mark Ingram. They will even go up to Dawson Knox, or they're going to go down to his teammate who's right below him in Cole Beasley. So Emmanuel Sanders will be one of the lowest owned guys on the slate. Now his price point will probably be like, all right, it's fine. He should be low owned. But if you're trying to find a diamond in the rough who maybe can find that spark this week because he continues to run routes, it would be Manny Sanders. So if you're playing in a small field, you're playing against 10 of your friends, you're playing against 100 people, I probably wouldn't play Sanders. If you're playing in a large field, you're trying to win the $1 million, or I guess in this slate, $250,000 to first, Sanders is in play for those slates. Next up is a man who's been hit or miss all season long. And really, I mean, injuries in Dawson Knox are the concern here. So Cole Beasley had a rib injury. He only ran 8 routes, and that was 2 weeks ago against the Jets. Then last week, he runs 28 routes. He sees 5 targets. So you're concerned that he's not seeing this production, but he's kind of priced for it. At $6,600, a guy who's going to go out there and run 30 routes. They need him in the middle of the field to beat the zone. He has touchdown upside as well based on how often he's on the field. Your main concerns are those ribs still banged up a little bit? Well, he ran 20 more routes from 2 weeks ago against the Jets to this past week against the Colts, so that gives us some confidence. But number 2, and also in that, he kind of came out in the fourth quarter because they were getting blown out. Also in that, number 2 is Dawson Knox is now on the field. We had some concerns about a month and a half ago for 2 weeks where Cole Beasley's snaps are hitting all-time lows when he's been with the Bills, a 3-year low, because Dawson Knox was playing 95 to 98% of the snaps. Is that going to get him off the field now? Is Dawson Knox going to operate as a wide receiver in 3 wide receiver sets out of the slot, pushing Beasley off the field? We have seen that a little bit. That is a concern. I do think those concerns are baked into this price point. Cole Beasley is going to be a yes for me as of right now. The fact that we got his routes run to go back up to 28 gives me confidence. A $6,000 Taysom Hill, I mean, he might not even play in this game because of a foot injury, unless you get news that Taysom Hill is starting over Trevor Siemian this week. In that case, play all the Taysom Hill at $6,000. Otherwise, he's not in play at all. I don't even care if he scores a touchdown. 6-7 fantasy points would be a great day for him on his usage, and that's not even going to pay off the salary. So after you go from Taysom Hill, you can slide on down now, and you start to get to all 3 of these receivers who are, none of them are fantastic options, but you get to these 3 receivers from the Saints. And it starts off with Tre'Quan Smith, a former 3rd-round pick. He was hurt earlier this year, and he looks like the best receiver. I mean, he's a 3rd-round pick compared to Deontay Harris, and Deontay Harris, who was mainly a special teams player, undersized, undrafted free agent. Marquez Callaway has the size, but he's a little bit slower, and he's an undrafted free agent. Like, Tre'Quan Smith should be the best wide receiver on this team, and he is. Tre'Quan Smith now has 14 targets in his last 2 games with Trevor Siemian. He has 6 red zone targets in 4 games with Siemian, so he's kind of a popular target around the red zone right now, playing about 60% of his snaps out of the slot, which makes sense then. Siemian is going to feel more comfortable rather than a guy like Siemian targeting downfield, not known for the strongest and most accurate arm. Hitting the slot makes a lot more sense, easier and quicker throws to get the ball out. So you have right now Tre'Quan Smith trending. He's only $5,800. I think that Tre'Quan Smith makes for a really good play. He has the size, the touchdown upside. He's on the field a lot. He's going to run 25 routes in this game, and he's probably going to see somewhere around 6 or 8 targets. So from Tre'Quan Smith, we can now move down to Marquez Callaway, and Marquez Callaway is the outside receiver. He's this undrafted free agent. He's a little bit bigger. He'll probably see, I mean, this Buffalo secondary is number 1 in the NFL right now. Through these weeks, according to Pro Football Focus, overall grades on their players. Their safeties are a big reason why for that. Tre'Davious White obviously helps as well. But Marquez Callaway, it's going to be a tough spot. Like, he had a garbage time touchdown last week against Philadelphia. If you're somebody who likes to look at the recent game logs, I mean, that's fine, but it's not going to tell the full story. Marquez Callaway, if you're going to look at the recent game logs on him, he's had 3 straight games of 10-plus points. But that's because he scored touchdowns in 3 straight games, right? If you're actually looking at his usage, he is the least favorite target so far of Trevor Siemian. It is Tre'Quan Smith ahead of him. Even Deontay Harris is ahead of him. Adam Trautman, who is now doubtful, unfortunately, for this game, is also right now ahead of Marquez Callaway in the target pecking order from Trevor Siemian in this 4-game sample of 4.6 targets per game. So those 3 straight games with a touchdown are keeping him relevant, and obviously that can continue. And the fact that there's not going to be Adam Trautman can mean more targets going his way, so we'll keep him in play as a maybe, but I do prefer his teammate Tre'Quan Smith. Now you get to these 3 in a row right here, basically, these Buffalo Bills running backs. These Buffalo Bills running backs, the fact that 3 of them are being used, all 3 running backs each saw 30% or more of the snaps, topping out at Devin Singletary, seeing 37% of the snaps last week in that game. He only saw 6 touches in the game. If he doesn't score, it's hard to see the upside. If you look at the game logs and you say, but a couple of weeks ago he looked really good. He caught 6 balls and 8 targets. Yeah, Zach Moss got hurt in that game and Matt Breida wasn't active. A lot has changed since then, like Zach Moss being activated and Matt Breida being activated these last 2 weeks. So Singletary at $5,000, I mean, he's leading the team in snaps. He might see 8 touches, but it's touchdown or bust. So if you think he scores a touchdown, play him. Otherwise, don't. Zach Moss, this guy was third. He was behind Matt Breida last week in the overall snaps, and Breida only saw 1 overall touch in garbage time, so it was pretty close. Breida saw 14% of the snaps against the Jets. So these guys, again, I think you're going to see them. All 3 of these guys get touches. They're all 3 going to split somewhere between 4 and 7 touches apiece. And without a touchdown, they're not going to pay off these salaries. So all 3 of them, including Matt Breida, are guys that I don't really want. I would prefer Tyler Bass, the kicker, in this range over all 3 of them. If you're looking for a guy in this exact price range, go to the kicker, Tyler Bass, who will project out for about 8.5 fantasy points. Each of these running backs will probably project around somewhere from 5 to 7.5 fantasy points as well, but the kicker is going to be a little bit more secure there. If you wanted to choose one of these running backs, I would go to Devin Singletary. I think he's the best pass catcher of them all. I think he sees the highest snaps of them all. So if you really wanted to choose a Buffalo Bills running back, I would choose Singletary. We now get below to the value range where we have to start to find some value. So you're going to find both defenses in the other kicker here in Brett Maher, I believe formerly with the Cowboys at one point, but all 3 are in play. I prefer Tyler Bass to all 3 of them, but they're all in play. If you really wanted to choose a specific defense, I'll go Bills defense. It's a better overall defense in my opinion, and they're facing a worse quarterback than Trevor Siemian. So there you go. Now you get to an interesting price range. Deontay Johnson is only $2,000. I'm shocked, or Deontay Harris is only $2,000. I'm shocked by this price tag. He's out there, right? I mean, I don't think he's been great, but he's out there. He's actually seeing targets. Right now, Deontay Harris currently has been seeing 6 targets per game from Trevor Siemian these last 4 games. Now, his overall yards per target is not great. He's playing on the outside, and it's Tre'Quan Smith in the slot. So he's playing on the outside, and since he's on the outside, he's not getting as much targets downfield without Jameis Winston, like he did week 1 when he scored a deep touchdown against the Packers. So he's getting 7.6 yards per target instead of like 11 or 12 with Jameis Winston. So it's limiting his upside. It's limiting his overall yardage, his yards after the catch downfield, where there's just going to be less overall players for potentially tackling him right away. And it just limits the upside, to put it in a nutshell. So week 11, you saw 22 routes. You saw 5 targets, 2 catches, 11 yards. 2 catches, 11 yards isn't great, but 5 targets on 22 routes. He's still completely involved. It's not like Kenny Stills is coming out of the woodworks, or little Jordan Humphreys, who's also a receiver on this team, is coming out of the woodworks. Deontay Harris is firmly in play in 3 wide receiver sets, and now Adam Trautman is doubtful for the Saints and unlikely to play, a man who's been seeing most of the targets from Trevor Siemian the last 3 to 4 weeks. So Deontay Harris at $2,000, they gave us a Thanksgiving gift here. They gave us a little bit of a dessert, right? A little bit of the cherry on top, the apple pie, put the whipped cream, don't stop. It's Deontay Harris at $2,000. And you can compare that to the cheap option that is somewhat viable for Buffalo and Gabriel Davis. Gabriel Davis is the wide receiver 4 on his team. Deontay Harris is the wide receiver 3. Gabriel Davis ran 13 routes last week, and that was the second most routes he's ran on the year. He's averaging about 11 routes run per game. Deontay Harris ran 22 routes last week, and that was the lowest that he's seen in the last couple of games. So I think both these guys are in play. I think that Gabriel Davis is in play because, again, if he's going to run 12 routes and see a couple targets, hey, maybe he scores a touchdown. But the much more secure option there is Deontay Harris. Gabriel Davis saw 4 targets last week, but he has only topped 4 targets once since week 1. You should expect 1 to 3 targets and 10 to 12 routes from Gabriel Davis, whereas you should expect probably 5 to 6 targets from Deontay Harris on 20 plus routes. After this, you're going to really struggle to find much value. I mean, little Jordan Humphrey, he got his first game action last week since I believe it was week 7. It was because they were getting blown out for most of the game. It was garbage time run. He caught a 4-yard touchdown. He's not in play for me at $1,000. Tony Jones, if Kamara's playing, Tony Jones is not in play. If there's no Kamara, Tony Jones at least played 15% of the snaps as a running back. He saw 3 carries last week. So if you wanted to find a guy below $1,000, Tony Jones, I guess, somewhat stays in play. But Mark Ingram is dominating the touches. If there's no Kamara, expect Tony Jones to play 20% of the snaps, see 4 or 5 touches. You have to hope for a touchdown or bust there. I'll probably avoid it. Tommy Sweeney, the backup tight end for Buffalo. I told you Dawson Knox played 98% of the snaps last week. Tommy Sweeney is basically on the field just to run block. He's not running routes right now. Here is a name that is actually going to matter. The fact that you have a doubtful Mr. Adam Trotman is going to lead to Juwan Jennings, who formerly was with 3 years at Penn State, then transferred his final year. I believe he transferred his final year, if I'm not mistaken, to Oregon, where at Oregon he finally broke out at 23 years old. He had a decent campaign with them, and then they ended up trying to get drafted, and he didn't. He went undrafted. He was signed by the Saints this preseason, and he ended up playing Juwan Jennings, tight end. He goes from wide receiver to tight end. He's an athletic player. He's 230 pounds. He's 6'4", so he's shaped more like a wide receiver, but he was a healthy scratch last week because Nick Vannett came back. Nick Vannett came back, who's also that run-blocking tight end that we talked about, so he was a healthy scratch. But now with Adam Trotman out, you could expect Juwan Jennings to get back into the action. And Juwan Jennings, the last time we saw him in week 10, he caught 2 balls on 3 targets. He had 36 yards. He scored nearly 6 fantasy points. So at $200, Juwan Jennings, if you're looking for a guy, if there's one guy below $2,000, Deontay Harris is right at $2,000. If there's one guy below $2,000, it's Juwan Jennings. He is now going to project out as the starting tight end. With no Adam Trotman, he should probably run somewhere around 15 to 20 routes in this game, which would be a season high for him. He's had multiple games this year where he's had 3 or more targets in 3 games. He's had multiple touchdowns this year. He has 3 overall in the season. He has some upside. The fact that there's no Adam Trotman leads to him to even have more upside there. After that, Isaiah McKenzie, he only played 9% of the snaps last week for Buffalo. In week 10, he saw 3 touches and he got a touchdown on it. But outside of that, he hasn't topped 3 fantasy points this year. No thank you on Isaiah McKenzie, especially compared to Juwan Johnson's usage that he'll see. Then these final 3 players on the screen. Nick Vannett remains interesting because, again, there's no Adam Trotman. Nick Vannett, he's not known for his overall receiving ability, but he's not a terrible receiver. He had a 20-yard reception last week, so he stays in play as somebody who might get a couple more routes run with Adam Trotman. Kenny Stills is not in play, and neither is Ty Montgomery. Montgomery might not even play, track his status, but Kenny Stills is operating right now as basically like the wide receiver 5 in this offense. You even saw, actually, he ran more routes and saw more snaps than little Jordan Humphrey last week. He just didn't see a target, and Humphrey saw that 4-yard touchdown. So Kenny Stills will operate as like the wide receiver 4. He'll run like 10 to 15 routes somewhere in there, probably around 10 or 12. So Kenny Stills, you're probably going to see 1 target. He kind of has to connect on that deep target. Siemian's not the guy I trust to do that, but that's kind of where you get the usage from that. So Juwan Johnson for value, Deontay Harris for value, Gabriel Davis and Nick Vannett remain in play as somewhat value options as well. But there it is. There it is, fellas. There it is, ladies out there. Happy Thanksgiving to you beautiful people. Now you're ready to dominate, to win $250,000 or whatever you want to win on this showdown slate. And do not forget as it comes up right now, over a half a passing yard for Josh Allen. If he throws for 1 passing yard, spoiler alert, he will in this game. You win. You win the bet. It's simple. Whatever their max limit on the bet is, you win that. You can put it as much as you want on it up to that limit. You win that. If you use the code SAL, you get an additional free $100 bet on PrizePicks on your first entry. So go ahead and use that. PrizePicks.com, code SAL. You get the extra bonus. Then right away, as Thursday, by the way, Thursday morning this prop will come out. As it releases on Wednesday night, it will not be out yet. Thursday morning it will release. You take the prop, you're ready to go. You eat the food, you win the $1. You have yourself a beautiful time. Drink an IPA, a glass of wine, water, whatever your cup of tea is. If it is a cup of tea, perfect. All right. There you go. I appreciate you tuning in for this video. If indeed you have 2 seconds of your time, if you can go to ratethispodcast.com/Sal and just 5-star it, say something nice. It really, really helps the show, and I appreciate it. It will give you a chance to also be in a raffle to win $100 Rooskies. Appreciate you. I'll see you in the next one, and I'll see you when I see you, gang. Tomorrow, depending on when you're watching this, tomorrow, 2 days, the final thoughts. Saturday, that one, dude. Sunday live stream for week 12. Peace out, gang. Enjoy the rest of your holiday. Appreciate y'all so much.